All right. Hello, everybody. So, tonight we are starting a new segment. It's called the Creator Spotlight. And today I have my good friend Dustin Brunell from Ethereal Comics. He is the boss and the writer of most of the books there. And ironically, about a year ago, I couldn't tell you even how to say Ethereal, because a lot of people don't know about a lot of independent books. Now, we were talking a little bit before. I'm not a Marvel and DC guy. I've not been for a while because there's one word I hate, and that's crossover. Because I don't want to read 8,000 books to understand what the storyline is. So that's why I refuse to read Marvel and DC. We have a lot of good friends that are creators and artists that make some outstanding covers for them. That's about as far as I'll go for buying a book. um, but yeah, and so what I've taken from Ethereal is that they have their own little universe, that's kind of like secluded together, but it kind of stretches your imagination as well. It's like it's not your typical independent books that are out there. So it's kind of fun, and I enjoy that. I enjoy something that actually makes me think,
For sure.
not just senseless violence and stuff like that, but actually it's got a good story to it.
I appreciate that.
But welcome everybody. Welcome Dustin. So Dustin, kind of let the folks out there in good YouTube land know where you at and where'd you come from.
Oh Lord. Well, my mom and dad, they got together, and well, you know how that happens,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's generally where I came from. But um, as where I am, I live up in the fucking sticks. So I live in the mountains of Tennessee, um, which I like because, well, used to be you'd have to take a hike to get anywhere. Nowadays, everybody's in your fucking backyard.
Yeah.
But it's uh, when it comes to like comics, I owned a comic shop for a couple years. And when we moved to Tennessee, we closed the shop. We moved, and we got here. We started putting out our own books, self-publishing our own books. Uh, before we even had our own company. We were just trying to figure out if it would work, if we could actually make money doing this. And originally it wasn't about even, making money. It was almost it was therapeutic for me, because when my uncle died, I I wrote a eulogy, and the eulogy ended up on Facebook, and a couple of artists that we'd known that we valued their opinions, that had been our friends for years, were like, hey, you should write comic books. And I kind of like was like, fuck that, I can't write a comic book. And we put out the listener, and the listener did well. We put out listener 2, it did well, so we were like, oh shit, maybe we can maybe we can write comic books. So then we put out Greed, and Greed did better than both the issues of the listener that we'd put out. And it was like, holy shit. And I know you don't like crossovers, but that was our a shared world that we created. Um, and as of yet, we've had very little crossover in the 2 years. But I like shared worlds because
Mhm.
it helps people that read superhero books kind of ease
Yeah.
into a new publisher. Whereas we literally have, oh my gosh, right now I think we're running 9 different titles right
Mhm.
now. Um, we put out a book, as of this month. We're putting out 2 books a month. Um, I mean, we have fun with it. We write everything from Native American spiritual horror to dinosaur shenanigans to anthropomorphic bunny chicks. You know what I mean? We put all kinds of stuff out.
Like this one.
You know, like that one. Absolutely like that. What did you think about that fucking book?
Dude, I love this book, man. It was
It's fun, right?
I mean, it was fun. So, guys, let me give you the context. I'm not going to ruin the whole book for you, but think of it as a world where animals are the predominant factors. So for example, you got the different agents, and they're all, the policemen, but they're rabbits, they're mice, they're foxes, they're like, and that's why I read it. I'm like, okay, Agent K, Agent. like it kind of makes sense once you start going through. Oh, okay.
Well, there's
My
actually
favorite
a
part.
Agent K pillow
Oh
behind me.
yeah. My
Yeah.
favorite part was the ending, which I will not ruin
Oh yeah.
because there's some witchery, part
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
which I really like that part.
I don't think
Um,
people were expecting that at all.
no,
So that was fun, be able to do that. We've actually got the new the statues are going out with this next campaign.
ooh,
And they're really, really well done. I'm super in love with them.
I definitely want to see that one.
Yeah, they're really, really cool. They're about 8 inches tall. And they're all hand painted. They look great. But yeah, it's like that and Babes Going Dinosaurs. Babes Going Dinosaurs is really popular. We're on issue 3 of that. Actually, just came off pre-order recently, so that'll go to print in like a month.
Oh yeah.
But that's a great one. We've got the campaign for Fallen Leaves just ended, so that's getting all tidied up now, which is great. I love writing fantasy, but I love writing fantasy in a way that you're not used to fantasy. Like our world is a world that is prejudiced against elves. So there's a lot going on there, and our main character is an elf. So she's trying to exist in a world that doesn't want her to exist anyway. So it's a lot of fun. There's magic, swordplay, your normal fantasy things, but within much more serious elements. And you'll have to excuse me because I do have the flu, so I sound like total ass.
Oh, you're fine.
But there's all kinds of books that we put out that we strive to be different with. Like everything we put out needs to be different than everything else you've seen before, because it's important to you as a reader, as a fan. It's important that I give you 150 fucking percent. And not only that, I have to be able to justify selling you a product. Like if I wouldn't buy it myself, I wouldn't try to sell it to you. You know what I mean? And those are things that I try desperately to come across with people, just like BGD. One of the most popular things I get with BGD is, well, I don't want to read about dinosaur strippers. Look, buy the fucking book. Okay,
Exactly.
first, buy the book. It isn't even about dinosaur strippers. So buy the book, and if you don't enjoy it, I'll fucking buy it back. That's how proud I am of the product. The art team's great. The art team for Ethereal for each book is different for the most part. With the exception of Blade and Hunter, he and David Acampo go together like peanut butter and jelly, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
So I love having them together. And besides, he's my art director, and if he says that's the colorist he wants to work with, that's generally how that's going to go. But we definitely push to make sure that we give you guys story that you can vibe with, story that you're not going to know everything right up front. I really think that you should have questions.
Yeah.
It's boring if you know what the fuck is going on. It's boring. Like when the first 20, so we normally do 32 pages, because what we do is we do 24, and then with our pre-orders, if we reach certain numbers, we do an unlock of 6 additional pages. So, and that's no extra cost to you guys. We just add the 6 additional pages. It ends up being 32 because you have to print in divisibles of 4. You know what I mean? So like you guys got the end of If It Hops, the very last page is pretty cool, but then you get the additional 6 pages.
Yeah.
Which introduced in that book introduced Agent K. And what she's doing at the time and why she's not in the city of Eden at that point. I fucking love Agent K. She's a great character. And you also got introduced to Ryoshi.
Yep.
Ryoshi is super fun. Little fox chick. She's great. Also, if you ever hear me talking about the writer, that's also Ryoshi.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of her. You'll get to see a shit ton more of both of them starting in issue 3. Issue 2 is a lot of the Jackal and a lot of C. It'll be it'll be a really cool throwdown between those two characters. And you'll also get to find out where the title for the book comes from in that issue. But that issue is actually, Jesus, right around the corner. Pre-orders go live for that on the 21st. But we it's all about, I don't want you to be bored, man. Like, I really don't want you to be bored. Like I pick up books anymore and I'm like, this is just ass. You know what I mean? And that's why are you gonna, like I said earlier when we were on my show just a few minutes ago, why on earth would I expect you to spend your time, which is your most important commodity, is your time, your life, reading a boring product just because it's monotonous? Like it's like watching a fucking preview on, or commercial on television. It's monotonous. It's just time spending.
Well, it's funny because, like, if you think about, I said the word crossover, and I enjoy a crossover when it makes sense.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah.
if I have to read 80 issues to get the plot, I'm already bored. And I've already lost a lot of money because I've spent on 80 books just to figure out what's going on.
For
Whereas
sure.
I'll wait for an omnibus or something like that for a Marvel or DC,
Right.
just because I'm not going to spend the time and the effort to go through it. But
Absolutely.
on, if it hops Theater 7, for example, like I read through Theater 7 and through the preview issue, I'm like, okay, it's a different aspect,
Right.
and you gotta, and I have an open mind to books
Right.
in general, so we'll get into that a little bit later. But
Theater 7 is fun.
I can see like where that's going to go. Like at
Right.
the end when she's like, go this way and go inside the theater and then go down the hall and then go
Right.
see about the job. I'm like,
Right.
this is not going to turn out well. It's the normal horror thing, and I'm a horror guy as well.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, this is not going to end up well for this girl.
Oh man, it's so much fun because if you're a Cavewoman fan,
Mm-hmm.
all the artwork is done by Devin Massey.
Yep.
So it's literally like it drips Devin. You know what I mean? The book literally drips Devin, and everything I write is amazing with him because I'm a fan. Like all these cats that you see, every book that you pick up of Ethereal, I'm a fan of all the people that work in the books. You know what I mean? So it's literally like when it was Devin came to me and was like, "Hey, write me a book," and I was like, "Fuck off! He's not being serious," And he was like, "Yeah, I really want to do a book with you," and I was like, "Holy balls!" So I started putting together Theater 7, and he's working with me the whole time. You know what I mean? The whole process, we're going through it together, and it was such a cool experience, and to see it come together. You know what I mean? And because I've never written a comedy before. So it's like, it's very interesting because the first story arc in Theater 7 is actually called Return to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a spoof on Back to the Future. You know what I mean? But it all has to do with the haunted theater.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's Devin's work, so it's all lewd humor. You know what I mean? And poor Penny is going through the shit. Let me tell you.
Oh
she's gonna. Poor Penny, and that's all about there is to it. But she's a very fun character, and it's based in the '90s, so we all lived through that. You know what I mean? And it's that type of humor, the locker room humor and stuff that we were at that time period. And because people know me and they know Devin, if you're a fan of Devin, you know what you're walking into. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. And his viewpoints are so much fun because he puts it all in the book. You know what I mean? It's not like I have an arrangement with my artists where if they decide to change something and it fits the page, I'm super okay with that. You know what I mean? Like I got a cover the other day and it was a character holding a sword, right? And the end of the sword somehow turned into like the tip of a dick, and I was not prepared, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you didn't notice that?" And I was like, "No, I wasn't fucking looking for the tip of a dick on a sword." You know what I mean? But that's why you've got an art director to pay attention
Yeah.
to type of things. But they're all fun. They all enjoy the product, and they all they all give it everything they've got. And that's such a cool thing, because they all want you to enjoy the product. You know what I mean? They want you to enjoy their work, because what people don't realize is how many hours upon hours upon hours go into us creating these projects. You know what I mean? Like, um, not just the financial stuff. I mean, you're talking $6,000 to $8,000 a month per issue.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then not only that, you're talking about like a cover, right? Let's say a cover. A cover can take 8 to 12 hours to do.
Yeah.
From some of these cats. Now, some people like Bladen will knock a cover out in fucking 2.5 hours because he's fucking
Bladen.
some kind of super freak. You know what I mean? But other than that, most people take a little bit longer. But that's why he gets to be the art director, because he's that guy. But there's so much to see in each of the worlds that it's like with If It Hops, right? There's so much deception in If It Hops. Like there's literally so much deception. Like I have to lie. It's the weird. So writing is fun, right? I really enjoy it. It's something that comes naturally to me. It works. It's a good time. But the thing about If It Hops is I have to lie to myself as I write If It Hops, because I'm constantly I write from each character's perspective. So like Mobber a Mouse, right?
Yeah.
I have to act like I don't know. As I write him, he has no clue what's happening in the situation that he's involved in. So I'm literally like, oh, well, I have to write him as has no clue. You know what I mean? And I also have to write, things like in this book in particular, it's literally, I'll say this, and I've not said this live before. There are so many twists in If It Hops that it's the one book we have that I don't think you can miss an issue,
Yeah.
because there's like BGD, you could pick it up, you could miss one or two, and you could be right back into it. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be
Yeah.
something versus If It Hops is there are nuances to story that if you read it a second time you'll find, or you'll be like, oh shit, you'll be on issue 3 and be like, oh, I saw that way back in issue 1. I remember that's what was happening. You know what I mean? Because the character development is so deep with these characters. Like the Jackal is fucking horrifying. Like it's probably one of the most terrifying characters I've ever created. And you'll get to see, like I said, you'll get to see a lot more of him in this issue coming up. But there is this concept where you have to treat like it's like directing a film. You literally have to be able to get one character to lie to another character to create that feeling of reality. You know what I mean? Because you have to suspend belief. If It Hops is the most challenging book I write. It really is, because it's already anthropomorphic characters. So I'm having to get you to suspend that. You know what I mean? Like, the best compliment we've ever received was actually from Devin Massey. He was like, by page 3 of Babes Going Dinosaurs, you forget you're reading about dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the power. If you can accomplish that, if you can accomplish the fact that by page 3, If It Hops, you don't even give a shit anymore, that's what's up. Because then now we're past that part. Now we can tell good story. You know what I mean? And now we can be like, is this enough to catch your attention? Is this going to draw you to the next issue? So I was like, when we hit page 24, I was like, as you read ethereal books, I have a habit. I have a habit that I'm okay with. And when we first started, I had an editor, and he would tell me I couldn't do it. It wouldn't work. Well, it works for me. I have a habit of I drop a cliffhanger on the end of my books, every issue on the end of my books, and I have to top it at the end of just because that's how I better myself. Like I'm constantly pushing myself to be a better writer, a better creator. So what I'll do is I'll be like, this is a badass ending. Boom. Drop it right there at the end, right? And then when I get ready for the next book and I'm at the end of the next one, I'm like, oh shit, let me go back to the last one. What kind of cliffhanger did I leave you with? Because it's not about a cliffhanger. And that's what that's the misunderstanding. It's about a page turn. So like as a comic book reader, it's not like a novel, right? With a comic book, when you get to the end of the page, if you're not interested, like if it doesn't catch you, you can put it down. You've not wasted 45
Yeah.
minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Man, this isn't for me. The cover's cool. I'll collect the covers. The interior is not for me. But if you can master the page turn and you can get the fans to appreciate what you're putting out and the content's good, don't fucking trick people into bullshit content.
Yeah.
Content is good. Good content. Give them the best you can fucking give them. And then you have a page turn. Now they want to see what's on the next page. What's interesting. Doesn't have to be action. Doesn't have to be suspense. Doesn't have to be fucking. As long as it's interesting. Investing, in character development. So now you've turned the page and you're like, oh, this is cool. I can dig this. Get to the next one. Oh, I turned the page. I remember my letterer one day, he was like, Dustin, you do this naturally. I had never heard of the page turn. I didn't know what the fuck it was. I didn't go to school for this. I went to school. I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
I didn't go to school for this. So he was like, this, you have a talent of bringing out the page turn. And I was like, oh, fuck, I learned a new word or a fucking new term. I didn't know what that was. So as you go through, you're looking and you're page turning. Well, at the end of the book, I was like, well, we're at the end now. Where's the page turn? Where's the pick up the book next month? So that's when I decided that I would have to top myself at the end of every single issue. And the editor was like, you're going to drive yourself fucking crazy. And I was like, no, it doesn't have to be better than every IP's issue, just every issue of this book.
Yeah.
I have to better myself in this book. And I do that for all of our books. I
Well,
constantly try to be better.
the last person I see that did that was Larry Hama. When
Okay.
Larry Hama used to write Wolverine,
Oh,
with
yeah.
Mark
Yeah.
Silvestri, like during the 90s,
Yeah.
to this day, that's my favorite Wolverine series of all time.
For sure.
Because it twisted you. It made you twist your mind around, like, where is he going to go? What is the story going to be like? And that's how I looked at it with If It Hops at the end, was like, it's a twist, and now you're twisted to like, where's it going to go? I want to read. It's the old school mentality of a comic book of you want to read it, you want to see it. You're not just collecting a comic book to collect a comic book anymore.
That's my drive. I want you to enjoy it because again, I wouldn't try to sell it to you if I didn't enjoy it. You know what I mean? And I can pick up my books and read my books, and I'm my own worst critic. Like I really am. And most of us are, but it's like, as I go through it, I'm like, well, what could I do better? You know what I'm saying? And naturally, what can I do better? And like, I feel like as we move through this story with Agent C, you're going to get introduced to Agent K, which you've met. You're going to get introduced to Agent J. Agent J is great. He's the only male agent. He's an otter. He's fun. He's an absolute prick. But you have these characters where you're constantly building their personal rapport with your reader, and that's what we as creators are doing. We're constantly building rapport with the reader. Are we giving you, again, your time, your money? You know what I mean? Is it worth it? And I just feel like you have to give people meat. I am a big old boy. I like good food. You know what I mean? I like a good story. I like, man, look, it's with If It Hops, there's this concept of constant unknown. And there will always be constant unknown with If It Hops. There's going to be moments when you're like, holy shit, I didn't realize that. But that's fun because, like I said, if you figure it out too early, it's fucking bullshit. I suck if you figure it out too early. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm having to figure out how to lie to my own characters in my own head. You know what I mean? Like you're putting it down on paper and you're like, so and so is not supposed to know that yet. You know what I mean? This is not, how do we work around so and so not knowing this? You know, how does that, because now you're doing dialogue. Is the dialogue making it so they understand or they don't understand? Because again, it's not two people talking. It's you trying to figure out how so and so is telling so and so something. You know?
Well, and like I was when I was reading it, Agent C says, "How did the jackal get out again?" After she had put him away, and then the chief kind of twists it a little bit. It's like
Mhm.
he's a part of it somehow. You just don't know how. The why. Um, so I'm interested to see like what happens with him because he's a character like you can see is going to be built up.
Yeah, the chief is a lot of fun. He's a big old boy too. Um, there are a couple characters that have, the chief is one to pay attention to. Kay is one to pay attention to. You're also going to meet you'll meet C's brother in the next couple issues. He's a great character. Again, Ryoshi is so much bigger than we've shown you at all. You know, she's huge in the series. Um, you've also got this concept of, again, the title. So if, like, all of my titles are very, very relevant, every single one of them is very, very relevant.
Mhm.
Whether it's The Listener, Greed, Babes, Gore, and Dinosaurs. Babes, Gore, and Dinosaurs is the most literal of all of them.
Yeah.
But the other ones are very, very tied into the story themselves. Frog Legs, My Metal Girl, they're all very, very tied into the actual story themselves. And I think that as you progress, you'll find that If It Hops is going to be something that is, again, probably the most terrifying book out of all the books we put out. And I think it's funny because um, people come in and they're like, "Oh, there's boobs," and you're like, "Yeah, there's boobs. There's boobs in all my books." You know
Exactly.
what I mean? So but it's more to. I think it's because it became part of the ethereal almost spice. Like it's when you come to the brand, you have expectations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You expect the explosions, you expect the good action. You know, it doesn't have to be over the top, but it all works. It's all natural. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? If there's a love story in any of our books, it's a very fluid thing. It's not thrown in your face. There's a story behind it. It builds up. You know, there's excuse me. The flu sucks. But there's a concept where I don't like forced perspective. I don't like it. I don't like forced storytelling. I don't like anything that makes it so you don't get to enjoy a build up. It should never be in your face. You shouldn't be slapped by something. There should always be some kind of foreplay. You know what I mean? There's got to be, play with it a little bit, get it excited,
Yeah.
and that's the goal. When we put the books out, it's like that last page, If It Hops, I had to top the other last page I'd put in the same fucking
Mhm.
book. You know what I mean? Because I had no idea we were going to break the amount of money that we were looking for the next, you know what I mean? The goal.
Yeah,
So,
because I saw that when there's actually two stops in the book.
uh,
There's the first stop, and then you get to the Fox
uh-huh,
portion later, and it's like you can see where it's going to go. It's like that's that extra couple of pages to read through. You're like, that's your hook. It's like,
right,
hey, this is what's going to happen. This is how it ties in. Like everybody's asking, where's Agent Kate? Well, this is where she's at.
right.
She's here.
Hmm.
But ironically, and that's a good segue. I want to talk about is the Kickstarter. Is that without the Kickstarter, getting to that certain amount of pages, we wouldn't have seen that.
Absolutely.
You know,
You would
so
have got them in the next book
yeah, I would have had to wait till the second issue
for
to
sure.
see that. But it was a good tie-in. It's like
Absolutely.
you remember Marvel Comic Presents back in the day. Where it would have 4 stories in a book, and each story would tell you a different character, different writing, and it would hook you in. So you'd keep buying it and buying it, and it'd only be like maybe 4 pages per story, but that 4 pages is what got you into that story.
Absolutely. I mean, that's again, that's the industry itself. We have to do things that are interesting. You know what I mean? And to be fair, that those pages are our favorite in the whole book. I mean, that's no bullshit. Those are Bladen and I's favorite pages in the whole book. And they just because of the simple fact that um I'm a sucker for surroundings. Like I am a sucker for surroundings. And if you look at BGD, we went over the top with
Mhm.
BGD, and that whole desert area where you're going into the Fox tribe was just so much fun for us because David colored it so beautifully, and we were just like, you know what I mean? This is more than even we expected it to be, So as it's coming out, we're just going I'm always blown away anyway, you know what I mean? But those guys have a way of bringing anything I put on paper to life in a spectacular fashion. Um,
Well, like for
but
me, it reminded me of the Day of the Dead movie. Like when
yeah,
they're all underneath the bunker, they're in this little area, they're contained in this situation. It's like you don't know what's happening, and what's going to happen next. But I wanted to show this to everybody out here. So let's see here, present. I wanted to show this one, and we're going to show that one. Okay. So this is Fallen Leaves. So this is the book
mhm,
that Dustin was talking about. It just ended today. Today
mhm,
was, and you see how, and if you're new to Kickstarter, let me explain it to a little bit to everybody. So a lot of independent books go through Kickstarter because it's the people that actually want to see the real book come out. That we all support the books, we support the artists and the writers, because we want to see them be successful. Um, for me, I've been backing books for years, and I appreciate it because I appreciate the time and the effort that goes into it. Um, and so what happens is when you back a book, you're saying, "Here's my pledge. I pledge to you as a writer, as to a creator, that I will support you to get this book out." Now, there's a lot that's entailed into that. I've helped out with a couple of these, and the hardest part is getting everybody's information. Number one, like trying to do the backer kits and the surveys. That's to me was one of the hardest things because you want to get everything accurate so you get their stuff out to everybody. Um, but as you can see here, I wanted to highlight. So Dustin was saying, okay, it costs X amount of dollars to make a book. Okay, that's one book. That's not every cover either. It's like every cover could be a cost as well because every variant that you're running could be an imprint of how many you have to do. So when people see like you made, 300% or, whatever on top of it, don't think of it as that way, but think of it as this is covering everything to get the book to you.
absolutely. I mean the 8 grand is not including the shipping. It's not including
No.
the printing. The printing alone for this book, the printing is going to be about $6,500. The shipping is going to be about $2,000. Um, it's a very in-depth process, and then all you got to look at the all the different things you're paying your different artists, you're paying your colorists, everybody involved, your ad firms, your ad managers, you're paying them, you're paying. I mean, if you're doing the art yourself, that's one thing. I don't do the art, so I have to pay a full team of artists. And if you're doing it right, you're not doing it cheap,
No.
you know.
Yeah,
And
I
this
guess
is
I've
full
got those
different art
cheap
shoes.
books in from a
Oh yeah, for
Kickstarter
sure.
before.
Well,
You know,
there's plenty of the cheap ones out there. I mean, but you try to make sure that we give you the best we can give you. You know what I mean? That's just but I think that's you find in the industry, you're not just selling your books, you're selling yourself. So is as much as people want to come in and they want to make a living doing comic books, it's not always the best idea, because it may not be for you. You know what I mean? Again, it takes a talented group of people, not just one person. So if you don't have a team, I, I mean, it's real easy to fall by the wayside.
it is.
You know, I'm very grateful because I have amazing friends. I have amazing fans, amazing teams. We have 42 team members right now, um, and everybody gets paid monthly. Yeah. So,
Oh, that
uh,
hurts.
and all of them more than me. So, but it's definitely worth it to have people reach out and yourself included and talk about enjoying the projects, enjoying the product. Those stickers came out good.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
going
didn't
to.
even see those till the other day.
So if you support, Kickstarter guys out there, we hit things we call stretch goals. Stretch goals are bonus items you get just for backing the book. For example, like you see here, I supported the book. I did the April Raina
Mhm.
cover, for
Beautiful.
$15. Just for $15, that gets me the book plus shipping and then all the stretch goals. Well, depending on like how far we get determines how many stretch goals. Like the mini print here, the additional pages like we were talking about earlier, and if it
Yeah.
pops, we unlock those pages because we got to that amount.
Hmm.
You know, the comic size print, like, and they're awesome, and we're going to show those variant covers here in a bit too. But like we got the extra card and we got the coaster, and you know me,
Coaster, cool.
I love coasters, and plus
I've
it's
never done a coaster, so they're very, very. I'm excited about the coaster for y'all. I'm excited for the art giveaway. Um, I I'm really, really stoked for all that good stuff.
And so what people have to understand too is that Dustin's paying everybody, literally everybody, artists, writers, letterers, and everybody in the business to do this. Um, as a fan and as a collector and a reader, most definitely, I see all these different covers, all these variants, and there's some people get variant overload. I'll just be frank. There's 8,000 to pick from, you know, and and it's hard because there's a balance. There's a balance of how many is right, but you're also trying to cater towards people, and that's what I think Ethereal does really well is you guys balance how many variants you have with how many people like people know. For example, like Sean Forney. I know Sean. I've known Sean for a while. It's like so if I see his book, I see the cover, I know who does it. You know, this one, for example, this one came from April. This is one of the ones, she remarked, a while back, and I was like, it's April. And I like, and I've supported April for a long time, so it's kind of nice to see your friends predominantly out there making covers and seeing them get done well, like Steph Wilson and Carrie Ann. I mean, I don't think, Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever seen a book from Steph that Carrie Ann hasn't colored. So the so we get multiples of these for everyone to be able to pick, which is nice. This one's David Ocampo, so this is the colorist doing the actual cover. Because some people do that. There are people that do um, pencils and inks and colors. You know, Bladen, this is he's predominantly the one that does most of the coloring, and Dave Kemp does the colorings with him. So And then this is so like for example, this is the Fallen Leaves cover I picked, because I like April's take on it. That's just me. April, Nia Rufino, Sabine Rich, those kind of people. It's like those. I like that kind of artistic thing, and Bladen, of course, too. But that's just how I am. So you get options, you get the things that you can pick from here, and the nice thing about this, guys, is that once you get through the normal, there's the other options. So hey, the risque, the wild, um, as it's called, um, and you'll see things like this, but that won't be covered in the real book. Um, and so why I want to bring this up is support your actual artists and writers by doing Kickstarters, because you're going to see some eventually, like I know, Dustin, some of yours get sent actually to comic shops as well. Um, so I always enjoy supporting the Kickstarters and then see it get bigger and bigger as we go through it. And so that's it. That's all I wanted to show on that one. All right, Dustin. And hey, Art, how you doing, man? All right. So Dustin will be back, I guess, in a little bit. So everybody out there in YouTube land, I hope you're having a good Friday night here. So Dustin, like I said, he's in charge of Ethereal Comics. They've got multiple lines that are actually, it's gonna stretch your imagination a little bit. So you can actually uh, see different things. Um, yeah, so the big thing I wanted to bring up too tonight is that they've got a lot of options out there for stories. Uh, and I wanted to show like there's other independent books out there other than just Marvel and DC, because there's a misconception that independent books don't take things the same. Okay. Oh, so okay. So Dustin has to go. He's like I said, he wasn't feeling well. So he's gonna head out for the night, and then we'll get back with him. So I wanted to talk a little bit too about him and talk about his actual uh, books. He has two brandings. He's got the red brand, the blue brand. So both brands are going to have different titles to them. So both titles are going to be kind of differently, more risque, not so much risque, or very risque. So that's going to be kind of how some of the red levels would go. Um, all right, hold on one sec. Um, so with that being said, he's not feeling well, so let him go rest. We're gonna call it tonight. Um, go support the books out there. Like I said, Ethereal Comics. And what I'm gonna do, if you see here, I'm going to put a link into the chat for all of us. So this is their website that they use, and then for Facebook, I'm going to get you their link too, because it's good to go follow these guys. They're good people, and they're just trying to give good books to good people, so we have fun stuff to read, and that's what we always want. Okay. All right. And that's the Facebook group for Ethereal Comics. All right. With that being said, like I said, I'm gonna cut it tonight, guys. And we'll be back next Friday with our normal um, just get together shenanigans with everybody. Um, Tattoo Toy Hunter, myself, Dondi, and everybody, we're hanging out this weekend as well. So we're all busy. We hope everybody has a good night and take it easy. And I'll see you on the next one. All right, all right, all right.